Well, hello, my friends. Here we are. And I am presented with a very different situation than I have for a month and a half, even longer, really. Before Austere August started, I was trying to get in maybe some shaves with different things because I knew I'd be locked in for Austere August. And then, of course, August is done, and I've used my Nacet the whole month, and I wanted to get to a round number, and so recently we hit 450 with the Nacet, and now it's time to pause. And so the razors that I can use now become my whole collection, instead of just those that work best with the Nacet being so smoothed out and so used. And so I was at a little bit of a loss today. It caught me by surprise. I wasn't expecting to have to make that choice. I haven't had to think about the razor to use, really, and the blade. The blade was an easy choice. I have been looking at this blade here for a while now. I've used it a few times. This is a vintage Gillette spoiler, and I have, it doesn't have an envelope yet because it came in one of those little metal tucks, that you pull it out of the thing. It didn't have a paper envelope, and so I'll get one for it. But it's been sitting around for 2 months looking at it, and then it hit me. Wait a minute, one of the things that I'm doing in my little things to have fun with while I'm shaving, goals, etc., is to find blades that I really enjoy in this Wolfman WR1. And it's a 46 gap. It's about the lowest gap I've ever heard of a Wolfman WR1 razor. And sure enough, I can see why, because there are certain blades that just don't work very well in it because we're starting to get to a very mild place, and that's normal. It's to be expected. But I like mild, smooth razors so much that I'm really looking forward to finding maybe some little piece of magic, a blade that just fits me to a T with this razor. So that's what we're using today. This is the H3 handle. Easy to remember. I'm so glad he did this. There are 3 stripes, 3 knurling stripes right here where you grab it, and that makes it easy to remember. I've been warming up, as in soaking this Zenith. I think it's a 507 something is the number. It is their extra soft horse hair brush, and it surely does have just a little bit of prickle to it, but it is in its very young stages, and for some reason I'm really enjoying using it. Even though if a badger brush were to give me some prickle, I would start fussing, right? But I think this is kind of like a boar, where over time we can work that out of it, is my thought. And the soap, I just released a few minutes ago, 15, 20, 30, the voting, and the sheep soap from Stirling is on there. And just to give you a brief, it'll be the video released right before this one, so if you want to jump on my channel, if you haven't gotten to that video, if it didn't appear in your notification list or whatever, it says something like vote COVID Scentless September survey, and it's because my nose with COVID is out of commission, and so I thought, let's revisit some soap bases where the smell of the soap is a lower priority. And maybe I omit it because I love the smell of things like playing around with the new stuff like Cerberus and the Noble Otter stuff that I've got recently, and just a whole host of new scents that are all around me, and they're so wonderful to use. Well, the scent aspect just needs to be put on the back burner for me right now. And the sheep is one of those that fits that to a T, because it doesn't have very much scent. Even back when I could smell, I never really got very much animalistic from this. Some people have mentioned that they have gotten that from it. I never really did. And And so for me, it never was an issue. But the thing is, I probably won't be using the sheep soap too much because back whenever my nose comes back, because there's Glastonbury, Port-au-Prince, and Varon, all that are in the same Mutton base, and I really enjoy each of those three scents. There's also Scots Pine Sheep, which I like quite a bit, and so that's four scents that have this same wonderful performance. And if I want this kind of mild lanolin, clean type smell, then I might go for Mitchell's Wolfat, or it's not as good as this Mutton base, but so this one is less likely to get too much use. And so now's a great time to whip it out. That Stirling Mutton base is tremendous. Very good performing. I mean, I haven't really had anybody try their normal beef tallow and then try the Mutton and not think that it was so much better. It's pretty much universally accepted as a better base. It just has a little bit of a funk to it, so that it doesn't work well with the vast majority of Stirling's scents. They're more nuanced, or something like that. All right, so I have. Let's put the blade in the razor. I do have the Nacet nearby, and I'll just have to. He's got 450 uses on him now. I filled in the dots to make 450, and so I'm going to put him inside there, keep him safe, and we'll resume him, I don't know, in a month. Who knows? I'm not sure. I'm not thinking that far ahead. Let's load up the blade. Another razor that I've got to show you guys very soon is going to be the carbon razor that I won for the Lather games. Definitely want to put some uses on that. I think I just used it once or twice before. Plus I got that new base plate, the mild base plate, that I haven't even tried yet at all. If I'd remembered that, I might be using that right now, but I wasn't thinking about it just now. So the Gillette spoiler. I also want to bring to you the 7th generation of the Pearl Flexi that I received while I was in kind of razor lockdown. And I didn't want its first use to be with a really old blade, because it's not very representative of the whole thing. So there we go. I'm going to get my face wet, and then we can start loading the soap. So while over the next few days, we've already got one person who's jumped in there and placed his vote, and you can leave all of them blank. You can kind of ignore the ones that you don't really care about too much and find the highlights that you really enjoy. I think Zachary was the first one to jump in there with a big vote for Van Ule, and so we'll see how that stacks up once a few other people start coming in. A lot of water in the brush here, so I'm going to shake much of it out. As always, if you want to keep more water in your brush, which means you have to add more later or add less later, then that's fine. A lot of soap bases don't mind if you come at the soap with a wet brush. Stirling is one of those. Mystic Water and Williams, however, are a little bit different in my case, my experience. There's a few of them like that. All right, what do we do? This one hasn't been used in a long time. 30 seconds. Let's say 40 seconds this time. There's a little bit of prickle here. I'm starting at the 10, so I'll go to the 50. I'm saying that out loud to help me and my brain remember it. There is a little bit of prickle here with the tips, but I don't know if you can see it or not, but the flexing is happening there. The third of the brush length toward the tips there is really quite flexible, and I think that adds a wonderful feel to the brush, and that might be the secret of what's kind of attracting me to it. It does have kind of a built-in softness due to those bristles. I think what it is that maybe the hairs that are on the horse's mane are softer than maybe the tail hairs, or vice versa. I don't know which one. And maybe this brush has a higher percentage of those softer bristles. And so maybe that's why it's classified as an extra soft. And this is really the only, if it was more prickly than this, I would probably not have a horse brush. I tried one V long years ago and it was useless. It was such a long loft. It was like trying to shave with a wet hot dog, you know, with a warmed up, floppy hot dog. You know, it just wasn't very much fun at all. And see, I can feel the easy splay here. So I think one of the reasons I like this brush is the backbone, even starting out, you can look at how many uses this brush has in the description. Even starting out, it's got a nice, easy backbone without being floppy. And so the prickles, the tips that have just a little bit of prickle, that's really what's going to be decided later. And look, the horse brush just kind of looks different in these early stages here. It's really funny how it has traits of a boar and traits of a badger. Kind of the flexibility of the badger, more of a soft feel without having those tips have to split. Now I've heard that these horse tips will split, I think is what I remember researching, but it takes a very long time to get them to do that. Very long time, a lot longer than a boar. But because of that changing nature, that is kind of the attribute that, and the prickliness, that is kind of what makes it seem like a boar too, because some boars do start out with a little bit of prickle. Not all of them. So the excellence in this soap base is in how it can take a lot of water but stay creamy while it does that. And that seems, for me at least, that's kind of the holy grail of a good soap. That's just that perfect attribute that I like to chase. Looking at about 20 or 19 milliliters added so far. I'm over halfway through my razor den tour video, going through and adding milestones. I don't know whether to go ahead and put them in now and just add to it as I go, or to wait and then make an announcement that, you know, all the skip links have been added. I think I'll just wait until they're all done. It's taken a little while to go through. We sure covered a lot of stuff. It's fun. Feeling each day, I'm feeling just a little bit better because of the, you know, I've got the COVID. Each day, just a little bit better. Mainly just mild flu symptoms is what I had. I was vaccinated, and I'm very thankful for that. Thank you guys who are praying for me and my family. That is just greatly appreciated. So the balm options are very different now, because I don't need to, if I don't want to use up a scented balm, then I sure don't need to waste the scent. And so any of the, I don't really have any unscented balms except for, oh, you know what? Yeah, that Soap Commander balm. It actually has a little bit of a waxy smell. I may bring that back, because now I'm not going to smell that kind of waxy base smell that it has. And so maybe now's the time to use that if I want to bring in a balm. I've also got the witch hazel, you know, from Thayer's, which is mostly an aloe type solution, and not quite as much witch hazel as it does have aloe. Now Dickinson's, I think, is the brand that's more pure witch hazel. And you can tell because it's got a smell to it. Whoo boy. But it's very good for your skin and all those. It's got all kinds of good properties to it. With the horse brush here, something always to think about is the tangling of the hairs, because they do have some of that a different kind of texture to them where they can turn into a knot. At least some horse brushes tend to do that. And so just make sure you comb it out on a regular basis. Now I believe in my research for this particular knot, I had many instances of guys who said they didn't even bother combing it out and never had any problems with it. And so perhaps this one doesn't have those same issues, but when we're speaking of horse knots, that is something to keep in your mind. In case you don't know, a horse knot has the benefit of being more kind, in a sense, to animals. The horse hairs can be harvested from the animal without harming the animal. It's like a haircut. Whereas with badger, the badger does have to be killed. Now, I don't really mind that too much, because in China, where the badgers are, grown for that purpose, who are, raised, for that purpose, see, they use all the other parts of the badger. And so we just get the benefit of the bristles for our badger brushes. And they use the meat and all the other kind of parts in their culture. And so it's very much like chicken or cow, over here in America, where they are, raised to be consumed. Some people find that offensive, and that is, of course, your own option and worldview there. All right, so I think we've got the lather looking pretty good. We've added a good bit of water, 27 milliliters, looks like. Let's just take a look at it. Oh, that's gorgeous. Yes, yes, sir. All right, get my face wet. I didn't really want to like Zeniths. I'm a big Semogue fan, and I had a nice family of Semogue brushes, and I didn't really want to bring in some more boar brushes to increase my and to slow down my boar brush break-in, because the more brushes you kind of add to your rotation, the longer it takes you to get to that wonderful boar nirvana where the tips have split and you've got this legendary softness that you only hear about. Well, I ended up trying a Zenith, and I'm glad I did. It has definitely come up to Semogue in terms of my favorite brands, and yeah, I'm getting a very light amount of kind of not really prickle, but kind of scritch, where if I was shaving with a razor that was pretty aggressive, then this amount of scritch, it's possible if I had to do too much work on my face, then this amount might kind of exacerbate the situation a little bit. It's very comfy, no scritch at all, of course. I don't know of a single brush that, this painting motion here, is uncomfortable in any way. And so it's very nice if you do that. And you definitely see a person who paints most of the time and just having no problem with just about any horse brush. Lather looks very nice. Feels creamy. May even need some more water, but I think it's probably okay. I still, every time I pick up a soap tub, I still unscrew the lid and smell it. It's just kind of habit, one of my favorite things to do. Sometimes I would take a particular soap in and put it by my office desk so that during the day while I'm working, I can smell it, you know. A little day brightener. All right. Stirling Sheep, the Mutton base. And we're going to bring out the WR1 with the 46 gap with a spoiler in there, a vintage blade. They're not exactly super easy to come by. There are people who still have supplies of them. Oh, now see, I do enjoy switching off the Nacet and feeling just the whole knife through butter experience with young fresh blades that are, you know, between 0 and 30 uses. And I may have just discovered an amazing blade with this razor. The search may be over. Oh yeah, it's just, I can feel it cutting the hairs, but it's in just the best way, where there's zero hint of tugging, no pulling. It's just moving through them easily. A lot of people like their Wolfman to have more aggressive heads, and I understand. You know, if you like that kind of blade feel and that aggression, you know, go for it. But this experience right now, this is what I'm chasing with many of my razors. And Wolfman are expensive pieces, and so if, in general, when I have a piece like that, I want it to be that kind of super smooth experience. And of course, I'm not going to have to do that against the grain work that I've had to bring into my routine, right? Because of the Nacet not quite having the cutting edge that it used to. Okay, so stop for water, pause for that. It's been a couple months since my face has felt that clean shaven after the first pass. And it just doesn't do that anymore. Wow. I just, in terms of moving my hand with the grain of my beard, I just barely feel any hairs. That's terrific. Oh, that's a good feeling. Sometimes I do love pausing the Nacet, because I do enjoy shaving. I am scientifically curious as far as, you know, how many uses that blade is going to give me, but also still, I don't want to miss out on all these great shaves. And so sometimes it's a very good thing to put that effort on pause and just get back to enjoying the shave. And that great feel when you've got a slick lather, just like I do now, and the razor is just moving across my skin effortlessly. And this one is going to be even smoother now that, you know, 90% of the stubble is gone. Now this glossy handle, if I have a little bit of lather right here in this section, it does get slippery. And so I do need to take care about that. Cross grain now. Oh yeah, it's just effortless. Now, and because I just don't have to worry about overpressure, because one of my main deals, even while using the Nacet, is the continued practice of a light, very light hold on the razor, light pressure on my skin, kind of, you know what I'm going for? In case you're new to my channel, as I move it across my skin like this, I don't want to see an indentation. I don't want to see a valley made as I'm moving it across. I don't want to see a ripple as I am coming across my skin. I want it to just kind of glide over the surface, only pressing in enough to keep it on the surface of my skin. Now, you know, you can make your own rules, right? If that's not how you want to do yours, if you want to put on a little bit of pressure, then you do it. If that makes you happy and gets you what you want, that's just fine. Nothing wrong with that. And there we go. I probably don't even need to do any more shaving. I mean, that's just terrific. Oh, and the slickness here. This soap base, so good. I did a long time knowing about Stirling and enjoying the brand before I knew about the Mutton base. You know the great tragedy of razors that shave you so well, you don't need to do a third pass. But I like my lather. I like the razor. I'm going to do a third pass. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to keep it with the grain. And that way I might pick up a few stragglers, but I'm not going to give myself any irritation or anything like that. Well, this is not with the grain on my cheeks here. This is across the grain, but that's just kind of what I always do on the third pass anyway. So it'll be fine. And then this is an, oh yeah, that's been cut nice and close. And it's just terrific. Looks like that I lathered this one up just right. Just the right ratio of water to where I like it to be. And this is where I can overwork an area if I'm not careful. Because it's number one, it's the neck. And at least with my skin, the neck is more tender than the cheek area. I bet that's typical for a lot of guys. But also this is the area that gives me so much trouble, and so it necessitates often working an area more than other areas, and so that's why there we go. Oh man, it just feels so smooth. That's terrific. That is like butter, people. Oh, so nice. I'm going to check the results in the mirror. Okay, I do see some length and some tips right here in this kind of tender area right there. So we can address that. Terrific, great feel. I was very careful about the direction because this could be an overshave for me with this blade working so well and cutting so closely. I could generate some irritation if I falter with my technique, but I just like with the Nacet, I was able to come at it slightly with that against the grain, especially down here near the neckline. In a couple of different directions, kind of like a pincher movement like that. All right, well, there we go. Stirling balms are really quite good, but they're not amazing. And I don't need that kind of amazingness, and so they work very well for me. if you have excessively dry skin, then you may want to seek out something with a little bit more hydration power. But for anybody with average skin, maybe slightly more dry than average, the Stirling balms are going to be very good for you. The next step up might be a Soap Commander's balm, which was kind of the de facto recommended balm for several years. And I think the one that supplanted it in the end was the Zingari balm when they came out. But the Soap Commander still is a terrific balm, and Integrity is the unscented one. And there are two, at least when I got this, and hope maybe still true, there were two kinds of Integrity. There was menthol-free, and then the standard was with menthol, because all the rest of their scents come with menthol in them. I used this back during like an austere August for maybe last year in 2020, I think. Yeah, see, this is great. This is nice and feels great on my face, but I don't get that kind of weird base smell that I was getting before. Now, if I use a soap that has a strong scent, or if I follow this application here up with a cologne or something, then of course that overrides the scent that this balm might have. But that particular month last year, I was using it as the only finisher, and I kind of got annoyed with it, with that particular base note there. I left my face a little bit on the wet side because I didn't need to have a ton of product on my face to have a lot of moisturizing action. All right, well, excellent. I do have a couple little tender spots down here because, after all, this is a fairly new blade, and that's good because, to me at least, I think it's good because it means that I was just kind of right on the edge there of that perfect blend of safe razor cutting, but efficient razor cutting. And that being such a tricky area, and it's one of those things where that slight bit of tenderness is going to be gone in 6 minutes. No problem at all. All right, well, there we go. I'm looking forward to seeing if a few more of you guys voted on the soap. I did mention in the announcement video about the voting that please go ahead and, if you like the Stirling Sheep, go ahead and vote for it anyway, even though we kind of figured out it was the one I was going to use next. Because if people really enjoy it, then I'll definitely come back to it again. But like I said, if you're curious about the sheep, you may want to go ahead and spend the money and get some, because I think the future of the sheep base with Stirling, because of COVID and the difficulty in obtaining maybe the sheep tallow, it might be getting more expensive. I would definitely try it and buy a full tub if you think you might be interested. I'm not trying to be any kind of fear monger or anything like that, but there's definitely not been any talk of discontinuing the line. Okay, but I don't know if I'd dilly-dally for a couple of years and just put it on the back burner. It would be my advice. They do sell samples of their sheep soap, and I will show you what Stirling samples look like because I've got a couple right here. There are many samples, like here's a Maggard sample right here. I love having this shelf right here. This is a typical sample size. This is one from Maggard Razors, Limes and Bergamot. Never tried that scent before, looking forward to it. The house brand of Maggard soap is made by Through the Fire Fine Craft. It's a very nice soap base. Here's a Stirling. Now that guy is probably going to, if you're careful, you might be able to get 5 shaves out of that, maybe more. Well, with these guys, you're looking at maybe about a month of shaves. So pretty cool. And they're just a few dollars each. So very happy with today's shave. The horse brush was enjoyable. My face, the tenderness is almost already gone as we speak. Can't wait to use the new version of the Pearl Flexi. Wonderful blade. This one works so well in this razor. Oh, good pairing. I think that's it. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves, and I sure hope that there's been something in this video to help you guys out. Take care now. Good night.